Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Last week I didn't post, and could you really blame me? It was April 19th. It's Maddie Healy! There's like 20,000 songs in this! What? Charlie, it's actually a double album. And we got all of the bonus tracks without having to buy every single variant. Life is good. I have a lot of favorites from the album, actually. I think my favorite song from the album is The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. It's just so good and so relatable, and if I could like scream it from the mountaintops, I would. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this video. I'm so sorry. This video is for all the people who want to get back into reading, but they don't know where to start, especially those people who haven't read since like middle school and then like you want to get back into it. I selected these books because I feel like they're like a great entryway into reading, especially for people who haven't read in a while. They kind of like force you to turn the page, which is what gets you one into reading and out of a reading slump. I also try to include like a lot of different genres in this, even though I'm an avid romance reader. I read like a lot of romance, and I feel like back in high school, I feel like you don't really want to admit that. I actually read a lot of books in my senior year, okay? And nobody knew because I read a lot of romance and I just didn't want to say it. Anyways, these are all the books I'd recommend if you want to get back into reading or if you're in a reading slump. We're gonna start off strong with Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I was in a huge reading slump and this book actually got me back into reading. Like, I was so obsessed with this book. The chokehold that this book had on me was crazy. This is the first book I've ever tapped. It's such a good beginner read too. I feel like you don't have to enjoy reading to enjoy this book because of how fun it was, and the flirting and the banter was so good. It makes you like kick your feet, giggle, squeal, all of the above. Oh my god, like the things I would do for the second book to be in my hands right now. Oh, she does have a novella out, which I'll get. She does already have like a novella out, which literally just came out this month actually. This book actually made me cry, and considering how short it is, that's kind of crazy. I was also on my period, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but probably. Basically, they're in this kingdom where there are elites and ordinaries. All of the elites have powers, and ordinaries, well, they're ordinary, so they don't have any powers. Basically, the king wants to get rid of all of the ordinaries, and our main character, Peyton, is an ordinary. She's been living in the slums, and she's been faking her powers as like a psychic. Something happens, and she ends up saving the prince, which is our love interest. You're gonna end up liking the love interest. I don't care who you are, okay? Like, it's almost impossible to not root for these two. She saves the prince, and she gets put into these like Hunger Game trials kind of thing. The author described it as the Red Queen and the Hunger Games. I haven't read either. There were trials, there were balls, like everything that you would ever want in a romantasy is in this book. Also, just to give you some context, before this book, I didn't read YA. I didn't like YA, and there's just like nothing in it for me. This book changed my mind because this book doesn't need any sort of spice. The angst, the characters, and their banter was enough. Second book I want to recommend is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. You need to read this because this book is so good. This book is so good, and usually I don't like second chance romances. It's been a while since I've read it. I think I read this book like half a year ago, but it literally got me back into reading. I couldn't put it down. It's such a good romance. It's also a standalone. The premise of this book is he's a florist, but he like hates owning a flower shop, and she's a wedding planner, but she doesn't believe in love or like marriage or whatever. But when they work together, it's amazing, and they make these like beautiful weddings. And it's a second chance romance. It goes back and forth between past and present, and usually I hate books that goes back and forth from like past to present. Just give it to me at once, you know what I mean? Like, don't go back and forth. Like, I don't like it, especially like how it was done in Corrupt. I absolutely hated that, but this was done so perfectly, and I really wanted to know both storylines. This is her debut novel as well, and I'm so excited. I think her second novel is coming out this year as well, and I'm gonna read it. If you're like me and you don't like switching between past and present, don't worry, because I feel like this book does it so perfectly that switching between past and present is what makes this such a page turner. Once again, it's so good. I love their relationship, and there was one point in this book that like absolutely broke me. I feel like this is probably one of the most underrated books I've ever read. 5 stars. Also, there's like some spice in this book, but it was very mild. I can't give you a spice rating because I honestly don't remember anymore, but I just remember that it wasn't like anything spicy. It's very much like a gut-wrenching, sad, but also sweet second chance romance. So moving on, still in the romance, Twisted Games by Anna Huang. People have thoughts about this book, and I know that, but I feel like if you like romance, rom-coms, or like just like romance movies in general, you will like the whole Twisted series. And the reason why I'm like mainly putting this book in this video is because if you're starting out reading and you read this, hello, like the series is huge. Once you read one, you will want to read the rest. I know that this isn't the first book and it's the second book, but I'm choosing to ignore Twisted Love's existence because I literally DNF'd that book 3 times and then had to push myself to get through it the last time just because I want to say I read the whole series. I don't know how the fuck that book is in the series because the rest of the series are 5 stars for me and I would literally reread them. It was such a fun and like light-hearted read. I'd recommend starting out with this book. I feel like it will get you back into reading. Basically all of these books are standalones. They follow different couples, but all of the girls are in like one friend group. So this is between a princess and a bodyguard. Obviously like they can't be together, blah blah blah. It's like forbidden romance. Once again, this book is a little bit more like spicy. I feel like this is like emotional romance, but this is more fun, lighthearted, a little bit spicy. I'd probably give the spice rating like a 3. But once again, my scale is broken. So yeah. I'm not here to recommend like smut books today, so I'm just not going to talk about smut books, but I could make that video if you would want it. There's also a spin-off series that's ongoing with the Twisted series, and it's the King of Sin series. There are 3 books out right now. The 4th book is coming this year as well. My favorite is King of Pride. I definitely recommend this series because 1, it got me back into reading, and 2, once you read 1, you kind of like want to read the rest, and once you read the rest, you want to keep reading and you'll end up reading other books as well. So this next book is for the girlies who were previously Wattpad readers, but they want to start reading published books as well. So I'd recommend Punk 57 because it will very much like fulfill, you know, like, I feel like this book is also a great entry into more spicy territory. Okay, I just remember I really liked it. I literally read this book twice. That is how much I liked it, okay? I don't know what that says about me. Don't even think about it. If you've read this book, just like forget that I've said that. They were childhood pen pals. Okay, this synopsis could totally be wrong because I haven't read it in a while. It's kind of like childhood best friends because they were pen pals when they were kids, but something happened and one of them just stopped writing. They end up going to the same school and he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is, and she's like the queen bee. She's like one of the popular girls and like she bullies people, but he doesn't put up with it, you know what I mean? It's kind of like childhood best friends, enemies to lovers. I feel like it's a great entryway into like more spicy books or even like smut books. I don't even read many books by this author. I think I've read 2, which is Corrupt and this one. I'm not like a huge fan of this author, but even I think that this book was like pretty good, you know what I mean? Still in the dark romance kind of era, I would recommend the whole Mindfuck series. In my opinion, this book was not smutty. People can choose to disagree with me, but I feel like the covers are super misleading. This book was so good. It's 5 books and the books are so short. So like I literally read a book a day. I sent it to my friend to read and she also read it in like 5 days or something. It was just so good. Like that's how good this book was. The premise of the book is that he's like a police officer on a case and she's the serial killer. He doesn't know that she is the one who's like killing all these people. There are some scenes that were like pretty dark, pretty gory, and like the whole like backstory, everything was like, it was a pretty dark read. But at the same time, I absolutely loved this book. Like no complaints. I would literally reread it right now. If you're in a slump, the Mindfuck series will literally get you out of the slump. I literally recommended this book in class. I'm gonna tell you a story and you're gonna literally feel secondhand embarrassment because I was in class and the teacher was like, did you do any reading over the break? And I said, yeah, I did. And he was like, oh, what did you read? And I was like, oh, I actually read the whole like Mindfuck series. I know someone searched up the fucking cover. Listen, that is how confident I am in how good this book is because this book literally was so fucking good. It was such a page turner and it was so exciting. It was like literally like a fucking murder mystery. Barely any like smut, like any spice in it. For all the people who were judging me that I was reading fucking smut, which I do, but this book is not smut. I don't know why the covers are like this, but the covers did me dirty. Seriously, this book is so good. Do not be put off by the cover. I feel like the marketing for this book is so bad. Please read it. I can't recommend it enough. It was just so good. Next book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I feel like this book is a little bit slow at the start compared to the other books I've recommended, but I feel like if you haven't read this book, like it's kind of a need. Like you need to read it. You will be so enthralled into this book. It basically tells the story of Evelyn Hugo's life and how she rose to fame and why she has this bad reputation and all of these husbands. It was just so good. If you've read this author's work before, you know that this book is like so good and like right up her alley. So I don't really know how to explain this. I'll read the back to you, but honestly I feel like you can go into this blind. I've loved this book for a very long time and I've recommended it 1,000 times over. Reclusive Hollywood icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant to write her story, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. So it kind of goes back from present and past once again. The past would be Evelyn Hugo's life and then the present would be a little bit of Monique's life and her writing the story. It was so famous like a year ago or something, and rightfully so because this book is amazing. Last but not least, if you are a thriller fan, I'd probably recommend Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is probably one of my favorite thriller reads. Once again, I recommended this in my English class and then my teacher called this book smutty. I loved my teacher in that class actually, and if my friends took English HL with me, I wouldn't have been so embarrassed. But literally I barely knew anyone in that class. It was probably like my nightmare come to life, okay? Anyways, Verity by Colleen Hoover. If you are wanting to get into reading and you want a page turner, this book will turn the pages by itself. I don't even like Colleen Hoover. Don't want to read Colleen Hoover books, but this book is so good. Basically, there's an author of this very famous book series and she has fallen into injury and she cannot finish the remaining of her book series. So the author's husband decides to hire this like struggling writer to finish the rest of her books. The wife, the famous author's name is Verity. Lowen, which is our main character, she finds an autobiography of Verity and she reads it and she uncovers all these truths about Verity and about the family and everything like that, and it was so creepy. There's some parts of this book I literally couldn't go to bed. I could not recommend this enough. Even if you have resentments against Colleen Hoover, still read this book because it was actually really good. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love you guys so much, and if you have any book recommendations down below, I would love some. I'm actually in a reading slump right now, so if you could help me out, that'd be great. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!